Your dad would punch you in the face with a fist, wouldn't he?
Yeah. If I didn't drink more raw eggs.
Why was it so important for you to drink raw eggs for him?
Well, my dad's a very hyper-masculine kind of guy. I got beat up at school when I was about 14. And he said, can you beat him? I said, no, Dad, he's a boxer. And his advice was to befriend him, go into the classroom, punch him off his chair, push the desk over on top of him. His boxing skills would be worth nothing, and stamp on his head. This is the kind of advice my dad would give me.
Where we've started with your dad is a violent man and he'd punch you in the face.
Knock me off my chair. He'd pick me up off the ground by my throat. Only a couple of times up there. Imagine picking a 6-year-old up off the throat. When I got to 16, I beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
I literally battered him. I'm the most loving dad ever. Probably too much. Probably spoil him too much.
There's no such thing as loving someone too much.
But my boy's as hard as nails. That level of love certainly didn't weaken him in any way. If anything, it strengthened him.
Correct. The way that I've been able to forgive, and I do forgive, and I don't care what anyone says about that because they get angry when I say this, is by doing what you've done, to understand why he ended up the way he did, is to also say, I'm also allowed to be angry about it. So those two things can exist at the same time. That suffering that I've gone through, I pay it forward. It's a bit like the darkness. You won't notice the stars if it's not dark. Do you know what I mean? You have to have both.
When I was in jail, all I'd been exposed to was violence. So being exposed to all those books opened my eyes to what life should be like. I was, reading about the fields, and I'd never been exposed to anything like that. Dickens books and Jane Austen books can be pretty austere.
Yes.
I mean, Jane Austen's idea of love isn't my idea of love.
No.
Like you. I'm more of a Brontë fan myself. Do you know what I mean? That's my idea of love.
I don't think anyone expected you to come out that quote at all. I'm more of a Brontë fan.
Well, let's have it right. I love Jane Austen books.
Hi, and welcome to The New Mind. Now, before we go into today's episode, I just want to ask you a big favour. Please subscribe because it really supports the channel to grow, and it allows me to continue to get amazing guests and to share these incredible life stories with you. The truth is, I learn something from every single guest, and I know you will too. So hit that subscribe button and make me very, very happy. Thank you so much for supporting me. I appreciate you all. Now enjoy the episode. So I'm going to start by going to your childhood. I know that's like the standard procedure with these things, but I want to go there because I feel like that bit is integral to the rest of it. So people have just seen the trailer, so they'll know that there's a little bit of violence and prison and all of those things in your life. But what's really important is that we understand the mind of somebody who ends up living quite a violent life. And I really feel that's very important, not just for this podcast, but for you really, and for your followers and for the people that you're undoubtedly going to inspire and help moving forward. Because if we don't understand the mind of the child that becomes a violent criminal.
I'm realising this now because it's only really affected me. No, it's always affected me.
It has, but probably your awareness of it has grown.
It affects me more now.
And I think it's because you've been through so much. Basically, you know that saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. Everyone has that moment when it's endless.
There's anger and resentment in there.
Yeah, and it's called post-traumatic stress for a reason. Sometimes we're carrying the stress and we just... I said to you before we started recording, you were saying something. I said, but you didn't know as a child that there was anything other than what your life was. You know you don't like it and you know you're scared and you know that you're getting hurt, but you don't know what other normal looks like because this is your only frame of reference. As an adult, when we're fully developed and we've got hindsight thinking and we've got wisdom and we've got experience, we know that what happened to us wasn't right.
Yeah.
And to give context to that, your dad was a very, very violent man, wasn't he? You don't speak to him at the moment.
I should do. I'm going to.
You're going to.
I think there's, don't know why it's been, obviously, so when Nick Tusig approached me about doing the documentary for Netflix, Violent Men, and obviously he wanted to focus, well, a part of it's going to be about childhood.
Yeah.
I've had to brought up parts of my life. I think the first 3 parts, well, the first 2 parts, young life, brought a lot of things up. Yeah. And I think also when I was in jail, you got a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
You know, you're in a cell a lot of time to think. I had rages, like thinking about some of the things in my
Well, your
my childhood.
Your dad would punch you in the face with a fist, wouldn't he?
Yeah. If I didn't drink more raw eggs, he would, at like 6, 7 years old,
Why was it so
bang,
important for
knock
you to
off a chair.
drink raw eggs for him?
Well, my dad's a very hyper-masculine kind of guy.
Right.
I do respect him, as well.
Yeah.
He's done very well for himself. He come from nothing. Both parents from the Gorbals in Scotland. It was the roughest estate in Europe. He grew up with no money at all. The dad was an alcoholic and would beat him mercilessly. Real violent man, granddad was. And alcohol. Quite often, his mum would have to bail him, go get him out of the neck as a kid. I was the kind of guy, be in a pub, pissed 1 minute, sat there, the next minute he'd glass you in the face. So a very violent dad he had, and you have to trust my granddad was fucking barking mad.
Yeah. It
really was. And my nan was a saint, an absolute beautiful saint. What a lovely woman. Kept the family together, just a lovely woman. I remember a Christmas dinner one day, there was a big bang upstairs and it was my granddad falling out of bed,
Oh.
And I had to put him in bed because he's pissed. But the rows I see him and my dad having, were ridiculous. My dad had basically, seeing his dad being alcoholic was pretty much teetotal. He'd have a Guinness every now and then.
Yeah.
And obviously he got into the football thug stuff, become the leader of the Chelsea thing back then in the 70s and 80s. And but from a young age, like 12, I think where they're so poor, like probably there's massive fear of poverty. And like he grafted, he was they'd go get his push bike round and all that, saved all the money. His first kid to buy his own bike, and his mum fucking adored him. She was a heaven sent woman, and she adored him, and she knew he was a bit special, and was probably going to do good things, And she got him an apprenticeship with a Sparky, which would have changed his life. Now my old man's had a lot of luck, right? Having his mum was actually part of that luck, and having his dad was part of that luck, because it would have made him the man he was. He got the resilience that you get from taking them kind of beatings, I suppose, and pushing him to do better, getting him his apprenticeship as a Sparky, I think about 15. And he done very well very quickly. And before you know it, at the same time he's doing his Chelsea thing, becoming a bit notorious, and he's quite charismatic. Not always the most well liked to people, charismatic. But the book that I read said leaders that come after him would enjoy the love as well as the respect of their men. And they described him as aloof, and I didn't know what that meant back then. I remember looking it up, and it kind of, one way it was described as, if you're talking to someone, they're kind of just reading the paper, and they might look up at you. And that's him to a T. Yeah. That is him, really, And
But would you say, because it's interesting, and I think this is a good thing.
Well, there's respect and disrespect.
Yes, and what I'm hearing from you, actually, and I think this is a good thing to just point out for the audience, is where we've started with your dad is a violent man and he'd punch you in the face.
Knock me off my chair. But he'd pick me up off the ground by my throat. Only a couple of times up there. Imagine picking a 6-year-old up off the throat.
Well, I can't, and I wouldn't. But the interesting thing is where I start there, you've then gone into telling me how wonderful he is. So I'm only pointing that out because what that shows is there's always going to be two parts of you. There's going to be the part of you that was battered by your own dad and the part of you that will defend your own dad. And it's like that split. You split off into two parts. And I'm only pointing that out because it helps us to later understand you. Right. So I'm making that point now, in that what I'm saying is you could be in the inner child, putting your dad as almost like a hero status. My dad was this, my dad was that. He was notorious. He was respected. Yes, he was disrespected and wasn't always liked, but he was, the leader of men. Equally, he was battering a 6-year-old and hanging you up by the neck.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it shows that we can be these fragmented people.
I'm quite good like that. I can not like a person at all if they've done me wrong or something, and they might not have very good integrity in a certain few areas, but if they've done something good for the community, I'm not going to say they didn't.
No, and I'm
always going to be real.
That's actually a really good broad perspective. And actually, we need a broad perspective in society, because sometimes when we put people into a box, we don't give them opportunities later on.
There are always grey areas, aren't there?
Yeah, there are always grey areas. And actually your dad will, having experienced his own level of quite horrific abuse as a child, he's externalised his aggressor. And to a point in your life, you've done the same. So it shows that violence breeds violence.
Absolutely.
And it's not always something that is building just resilience. It's also building an aggressor.
Of course it is.
So we have to understand those dynamics of the
I would say
violent man.
my level of violence in life far exceeded his.
Yes.
To a ridiculous level.
Yeah.
But I've never hit my son, ever.
No.
I tell you, I slapped his mum once when he hit his sister when he was a kid, and I felt bad for a week, and his mum was going, "Why are you so soft? You've got to discipline these kids." I never disciplined him. You know, I'd probably the opposite. I spoiled him too much.
Yeah.
And I think that was compensating for the way, you know, every 5 minutes, love you, son, love you, you know, really cuddly with him. And I didn't get any of that. So
no, you're giving
I
him
did
what
from
you
mum.
needed.
And, but, you know, I think you just feel like you feel good being loving towards your child.
Of course you do.
So I think, but we're all different. And I think...
But I mean, let's face it, you start off your life with quite heavy abuse. He wants you to man up. That's why the raw eggs things come in.
I've also done things with my son that weren't as healthy. You know, he's been in the car with me when he was a kid, you know, and he'd see me the way I talk to people. Obviously, if I was doing what I was doing in my criminal life.
Yeah, he's witnessed it.
I would you know, tell him, you know, these people are fuck all, you know, they're nothing, you know, which is wrong. You know, my thinking was, you know, make him hyper masculine, I suppose. Also,
which is what your dad did.
You know, even from jail, you know, I was on the phone finding out the best weightlifting coaches for him. Made sure he had boxing coaches, weightlifting coaches for strength conditioning. So I was building him, you know, and then when I come out, lovingly, you know, I'd be on the track with him at 6 a.m, you know, and he loved it, you know, and he excelled at boxing. So, you know, I truly believe he could end up being a world champion. I didn't, he's in the Navy now, he's boxing for them. I'm hoping when he comes out, he'll turn pro. I think he did that to get away, but I put so much pressure on him, and that's not right.
No.
Although it was done lovingly, it's still a lot of pressure. And
it's good that you can see it though.
Yeah.
It's good that you can say it out loud and on record. You know, you're not
My dad did the same to me. He put immense pressure on me.
Yeah.
You know.
Did he ever admit that? Has he ever admitted anything?
I don't think he'd realise it.
No.
You know. And he was obsessed with history, like all the great leaders, all the violent leaders, you know, Genghis Khans, and he'd read quite a lot, you know. For a kid who got kicked out of school like I did when he was 15, and I did too. No education. He educated himself on history. He educated himself on the things that he liked, which I would do years later.
Interesting that he was obsessed with leaders, though.
And then so was I.
Because what that shows me is that you are, and don't take this the wrong way, but there's a part of you that feels incredibly insecure. And so the way that you align yourself is to understand the mind of a leader so that you can step into that idealized self. This is the leader. I am the man, and you will not hurt me.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that both of you, your dad had his dad beating him up, you had your dad beating you up, and you create this fantasy version of self by studying all the great leaders and by embodying what you think a real man is.
I think for me, I would have picked up my old man's leadership traits. Obviously, when he was around, I've seen him run up scaffolding and throw people off the scaffolding. He came right 2 floors down. You know,
so you just chuck them off?
Well, when I was a kid, yeah. I've seen him pull people out of a car window. Once, road rage all the time, chasing people down the motor, and he said, "I shouldn't have done that, son. You know, I'm sorry," but he'd crack over nothing in a 100-mile car chase.
So it would go from 0 to 100? Yeah,
and the rage he'd show to my mum, so horrible to her. And I think at times in my life there's been a lot of anger and hate in me, and when you see your mum, it's, you know, he didn't hit my mum, but it's still abuse. He'd lock her in a room for 2 hours just giving her lectures, and he'd go in the house checking for cobwebs, and, you know, like I said,
he was relentless.
He'd never bought her a present in his life, ever. The day they got married, obviously it was a shotgun wedding because of me, he told her, "This is the worst day of my life." So, like, that's fucking abuse. You know?
Of course it is. It shapes someone's brain.
My mum, you know, very dutiful, old-fashioned woman, like, she's just had years of that. So,
how is she? Is she still with us?
Yeah.
How is she now?
yeah, she's like, he's always done right by her financially because he was doing well. I said he's never bought her no presents or no cards. That's the way he is. But
can you see the trauma in her now?
I think she's lived a very sad life on account of that. And I think there's almost no empathy in my old man.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, he does sound like a classic narcissist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably no way of avoiding that if we're on this show. We've got a kind of...
Absolutely.
Yeah. A grandiose narcissist.
A grandiose megalomaniac.
Yeah.
Let's have it right. Look, no disrespect. Like, I respect him for what he did, how he rose up out of poverty.
Of course.
Right, and built businesses. The football shit I couldn't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
You know? Doesn't mean anything to me.
He's a well-known character, isn't he?
Yeah, you're fighting over over football.
Yeah.
You know, I could understand if someone owed you a £1 note, then it came on. But like fighting people over a game of football was...
God, £1 note,
crazy.
That was old school.
Yeah, so like, don't get me wrong, there is some level of respect for it because it still takes, to become a leader of something like that, you have to be a right man's man, you have to be, you know, top of the top and, you know, there's a level of charisma.
Why do men respect those types of men so much, though? Why is that a thing?
I think...
Obviously, I'm a girl, so I'm thinking... You know, these movies, these gangster movies, these violent movies, and little boys are going, I want to be that man.
Well, I suppose it's a form of seduction, isn't it? It's charisma.
Yeah.
And, you know, like politicians seduce en masse, don't they?
Yeah.
And somehow, I think a lot of men, I'll say the old classic tale, you know, lots of Indians, not many chiefs. Most men are built to go to work, clock in, sign out, and they want leadership. And I think... especially in the old days before people started popping pills in the 90s, they all used to do the football violence thing or they become mods.
Yeah.
They all need validation. They all need a clique.
Yes.
So you have mods, rockers, football thugs, skinheads, you know, they have all these different groups.
Tribal.
You know, you just find a tribe. That could be accident. Whichever tribe you fall into is accident, whoever you bump into.
Yeah.
And I think they do it for validation. And probably the leaders do too. They're just getting a better level of validation because they're there and then they need that level of validation.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of life comes down to validation, doesn't it?
It does. It does come down to conformity, validation, and tribalness. And what's interesting about what you're saying is there'll be a lot of younger men that put you on that same pedestal, like he's this violent
and they're wrong
criminal.
sometimes. People do it to me, and I'm like, hold on, I'm no saint. Oh, you're really inspiring. You've done this, you've done that. You're really disciplined. I think, well, I slip off discipline all the time.
Yeah.
So please don't hold me up on a pedestal of discipline.
That's why you're here today, I think, because you're here to tell the truth of your story, but also the fact that you really, you know, you're stripping it all back now and you're trying to go back to that self that has that purpose that's driven by doing the right thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually that's where you and your dad are very, very different.
I would say he felt he was doing the right thing with me. So perhaps I shouldn't be that angry because if you don't have any empathy to start with and it was stripped of you at birth with his dad, because it probably would have been a lot worse than what mine was.
So cognitively, he thought he was doing the right thing, but what he didn't realise was that he was absolutely
barbaric,
abusing you. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a part of me now, as a man, like, and look at the kind of businesses I've been involved in. If someone owes me a £1 note, they're in trouble. If someone said something bad about me, but that's back in the day, of course.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm thinking, hold on, you beat me. Mm. You know, I should fucking be beating you. Obviously, I'm not now. You're old. But, like, how do I ever make that right? The amount of beatings you give me when I was a kid, and some, for whatever reason, never surfaced when I was younger. I say it seems to be surfacing. Obviously, the guy wanted to do the documentary on Netflix, and the right about it just brought it all up. And I think, hold on, this is really fucking mad. And then talking to people, so this is really mad behaviour. And
you have to go through, I mean, I don't know if you know my personal history, do you? You probably don't, a little bit. So similarly, my dad was the abuser. And one of the things that I think is really important is to understand, as you're doing, why is my dad this way? Why did he do the things he did? Funnily enough, my dad's Glaswegian as well. So there's that link there, which is a bit ironic. But anyway, we're not slagging off Glasgow here.
Listen, the Glaswegians are the toughest men on the fucking planet, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
The EastEnders and the Glaswegians, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
And it's also, you know, rife with fucking the worst addictions of crack, heroin.
And it was a tough life.
So tough town.
Tough life. And And so the point being is that the way that I've been able to forgive, and I do forgive, and I don't care what anyone says about that because they get angry when I say this, but I do forgive, is by doing what you've done, is to understand why he ended up the way he did, but is to also say, I'm also allowed to be angry about it. So those two things can exist at the same time. And so when people say, how do I get over it? You have to show compassion for the child that was really badly hurt. But also I think it's understanding cognitively and from a nervous system point of view and from a trauma point of view, this happened to my dad and it changed him. And there was nothing that I could do about that. I just had to endure this abuse, and now I've got to show compassion to myself. And that suffering that I've gone through, I pay it forward, and I teach others how not to fall into those traps that I fell into. And if that's what your God-given job on this planet is to do, then maybe sometimes, and it's a bit like the darkness, you won't notice the stars if it's not dark. Do you know what I mean? You have to have both. And I think you've had a lot of dark, and now it's your time to shine. So... But it does lead into your dad being this notorious character, very sort of
then
well-known.
there was that to live up to as well.
Exactly
so I would
that.
punch out anyone's head in when I was a kid because I felt I had to live up to that.
Exactly
and
that.
I wanted to be more.
Yeah.
So I think
to be greater than what he was.
I look back at some of my behaviour as a young boy and as an adult and think it was kind of abhorrent, you know. But I was chasing validation as well.
Yeah, you were.
Because
you wanted to please him as well. In a way, whether that's conscious or not, if your dad's that type of leader and he's making you eat raw eggs, and if you don't do that, you're going to get punched, you're being taught, I've got to be the man. Yeah. And so unconsciously there'll be...
And it was always a man or a mouse and, you know, a classic story. I got beat up at school when I was about 14 before I started boxing. And he'd moved back to London, moved us down here, Southampton, then moved back to London quite quickly, which, you know, don't blame him. He wasn't really happy, so you do what you do. But my mum put me on the phone and he said, can you beat him? You know, I said, no, Dad, he's a boxer. And his advice was to befriend him and then go into the classroom, punch him off his chair, push the desk over on top of him. His boxing skills would be worth nothing, and stamp on his head. This is the kind of advice my dad would give me.
Oh my God.
I remember I got done once, got a bad fight in a pub. Got a bit of my ear bitten off. I got a snooker you put from the eyebrow. But I damaged him quite badly, this guy. He was the victim. I fucking put him in oddstock, plastic surgery, bit his ear off, fucking smashed him after death by the time police come in. And
how old were you then?
I was about 23.
I mean, you were...
I remember I was covered in blood. After people in the pub was covered in blood because every time I was hitting him. He was supposed to be the old hard man. He was about 37 time. When I was growing up, he was a hard man in our area, about 10 years older than me. He just headbutted me when I went looking, started punching me. And I just went through him, wrecked him. And, my old man was so angry I was back at court because I'd already had about 14 convictions of violence before.
So he wasn't happy?
So he was so angry, 14 convictions for violence, GBH, all that.
Before you were 18? Yeah,
so when I got nicked again, my old man was so angry, he like literally wanted to have someone set the guy's house on fire. I was like, that's how he was talking. And I was like, you know, I knew he was obviously how connected he was. So at that age, I was a bit more merciful than I was as I got older.
Yeah.
Before, because I hadn't really entered the criminal kind of world for profit at that point. And
I have to add in here, because there's 14 convictions before the age of 18. I have to add in here that the brain isn't fully developed until 25.
Yeah.
And
I was drinking a lot.
And you were drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And you were diagnosed with ADHD at age 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I bring that in because I think, you know, it's such a big thing now with ADHD, but ADHD is a spectrum. Mm-hmm. The level of violence you experienced, I think, created the ADHD framework, by the way.
I never thought that. I just thought you were born with it or not.
Well, they do say that, but I see ADHD as a code. If you think of ADHD as a code, so let's say it's 6, 7, 8, right? That's the code. And it's genetically passed down, the code. The environment, I believe, or the pregnancy and the stress that your mum goes through will either switch the code on or leave it laying dormant. So I think a lot of people have the code. Yeah, trauma is...
And the more you build up through life, the more it kicks in.
It could be that, or it could just be that you've got a very delicate genetic expression that can come on really, really quickly. So I've got the framework of ADHD, but it also mirrors complex PTSD. I say this a lot. So people that watch it for the first time, that don't know this. So I think complex PTSD and ADHD have been separated. I actually think they're the same thing. And yes, the diagnostic criteria that exists at the moment says you have to be born with it, but I see that will change over the next few years. I think they'll have to alter the diagnostic criteria. Because trauma does create that framework. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is because we pathologize everything. We give it a label instead of looking at the story. Right. Your story is lots and lots of violence, lots and lots of drinking, lots and lots of then reenacting the aggressor.
To be fair, I don't know. There was a lot of violence. I don't think there was much violence before the age of... There was a little bit, probably, actually.
How old were you when your dad was punching you with a closed fist in the face?
I couldn't be sure. It could be 6, 7, 8. I'm not really... Because you can't remember the exact age, but...
That's a lot
open
of
hand slaps would have been from like 3,
That's violence.
I can't imagine doing that to like a child. I've never, ever hit my son. I think I pushed him once and I slapped his bum once, and then that is literally... it, but like I'm the most loving dad ever. Probably too much. Probably spoil him too much.
There's no such thing as loving someone too much.
But he's my boy's as hard as nails. He's like, I think he could kind of do whatever he wants in boxing.
Yeah.
So. But I'm saying is that level of love certainly didn't weaken him in anything. If anything, it strengthened him.
Correct. So there's no such thing as too much love.
No.
So for anyone that's got that sort of aggressive feeling that thinks this is how you toughen up children, forget about it. It's not. What they need is love, discipline, structure. Now, discipline does not mean punching them or hitting them. It means giving them boundaries and making sure that they understand that behaviour, if you're going out and robbing cars, there is a consequence for that, but it doesn't have to be a violent consequence. I mean, these days, take away their phone and that's enough because they're all addicted to phones. But my point being is that because there's 14 convictions of violence before the age of 18, and as we go through your story, we'll see that the violence increases. I have to give perspective as to why you became that way, because I don't want people to listen to this and go, oh my God, there's blood everywhere, and just hear the gore. I actually want them to see you within that.
I think I was chasing validation. So I was, for whatever reason, I was rubbish at school, and I know I'm not daft by any stretch of the imagination. I was running 5 limited companies before I went to jail, but at school, couldn't focus. I was diagnosed very early with ADHD, so I was probably one of the first people in the country to start using Ritalin, which turned me into a bit of zombie.
Yeah.
Literally like a zombie. So then you're not making friends because you're like a zombie.
Yeah.
And then you can't win because you're not supposed to be a zombie.
No.
But then you can't be running around punching the other kids either.
No.
And but then your dad's teaching you that. So you're then getting waxed for behaving like that.
Again, I wonder if you had ADHD or if it was trauma. They put you on a drug to deal with the trauma that you're experiencing rather than dealing with the trauma. It's really sad, actually.
The funny thing is, later on, my old man was like, you're a really serious criminal and you're fucking off key, and I'm thinking really? And he doesn't see himself that he was a criminal. All the football, you're organising 1,000 people to march on 1,000 people, sometimes in streets where there's women and children.
And he can't see it.
They would organise these football fights in the craziest places because no cities do that. And you'd have 1,000 people meet 1,000 people down a fucking high street.
Yeah, I know.
Which for me, I've never done nothing like that. I think that's disgusting.
That is organised crime.
I think that's disgusting. No women and children and all that. Right?
Yeah.
So, say I put a bit of money out in the street and I go collect it. That's abhorrent, but that's not. So the thinking is very skewed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But a narcissist always does that. They always put themselves in an idealised place.
It wasn't criminality, it was camaraderie. I'm not even joking.
Yeah. The stories that people tell themselves. It just goes to show that
we tell ourselves stories there.
We do. And that's how we navigate. So we believe, if you believe your own stories, you've got a problem.
I'm a very flawed man. I'm the first to admit it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm often wrong.
Yeah.
I'm the first to admit that. And I'm having a conversation with people.
Yeah.
And there's different values or different opinions. I say, listen, I'm just giving you my opinion. I might not be right. I'm frequently wrong.
That.
So you've got yours and I've got mine. You might be able to change my opinion because I'm quite open.
Yeah.
But it is just my opinion. But so you've got to understand what you're telling me is also just
an opinion. Yeah.
So don't get angry
And we know even in the court of law, sometimes facts aren't facts because what they tell you is a fact is based on the evidence they have. And sometimes it's not actually fact because they've not got all the evidence.
Don't we started about courts of law? That's drama. Which barrister is the better actor? Because it's like...
Of course, it's
like watching two actors on stage giving their rhetoric. Yeah. Well, which one impresses the jury the most?
They still wear the costumes.
Yeah.
You know, so it is theatrics. It is. And, there's no getting away from that. There's something very alluring about it, though, I think.
Not in the dock.
Yeah. Not when you're the one that's going to go down. But for us, as people that don't, I haven't got a criminal history, there's something alluring about the drama because, like you say, it is very theatrical. But anyway, so... You're at this point where your dad thinks you're the monster.
Now, well, not now, I don't know.
But then.
Now. I've heard he's mellowed. And I did see him the other day, went around my mum's, and he went to I just shut the door. I'm not ready to talk to you.
Right.
And he probably doesn't know what's going on in my head. So I'll probably
Is he softened as well as he's
Apparently so. Apparently so. I probably do have to reach out and have a conversation with him. I want to say, look, I think you owe me a fucking apology.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, when I got to 16, I beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
I literally battered him.
Oh, you did?
I battered him a few times. I think the first time, I think he was on the phone and I'm in another room. Remember the old thingy phones?
Yeah, of course.
I got on the phone and said, I turned into a riot. By the time I was 14, started getting nicked all the time, getting in fights all the time. And I joined a boxing club at this point.
Right.
So that kid that beat me up, I didn't take my dad's advice, but I did join a boxing club and I did find him and I did absolutely batter him. I did it my way.
Yeah.
Joined a boxing club, learned to fight.
Yeah.
And it became a bit addictive because he was the toughest kid in our school and notorious, and all of a sudden everyone's kissing my ass. I was, this is good, this is validation.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a bit more of it. Next thing I'm knocking out doormen at sort of 16, 17. And I think one time I've knocked out like 4 doormen, the manager and the bartender, 22 witnesses against me. That was at 18. At Square Blue, I was off key. Just like, I was going into clubs with like weapons, axes. I was very much theatrics. I wanted a name for myself. My dad had a name for himself, and I wanted a name for myself. So, it was a big crowd, which there was back in the day, back when nightclubs existed.
Yeah.
And I used to like it. You'd walk around a block and the pubs all around our little thing. You'd walk around each pub and you'd collect mates as you go along because it was very social back then.
Yeah.
But I found making a name for yourself, all of a sudden all the girls want to go out of you and all the wrong girls. And, people want to be your mate. It's all very fake. But you pick up real mates along the way, obviously. It's one thing you learn in life.
But few, not many.
Very few.
Yeah.
I reckon I've got about nearly 2,000 numbers on my phone.
Yeah.
And I'd have to really stop and think about how many good mates.
Yeah.
Not many.
A lot of people want to know
you. Let's say you can count on one hand. I call them associates.
Yes.
And if they're encouraging bad behaviour or bad habits, and it doesn't mean they're not good people.
No.
It doesn't mean they're not even good friends. But no, they're not good friends. They might not be malicious friends because they don't know they're doing it, but good friends, in terms of being good for you, means they're encouraging good behaviours and stuff.
And they want to tell you the truth for you, not for any other reason.
Absolutely, yeah. So that violence is all a long time ago.
But you did sort of theatrically, as you say it, go around town.
As a youngster, it was theatrics, I'd literally find out who the yard men were in the town. And they were men, they were in their 30s. I was like 16, 17. I would just attack them, I suppose. So
you've beaten your dad up and you're beating up these grown men. And my question is, because I think this is important before we get...
He did whack me around the head with a phone first from behind.
Oh, because you're on the dial phone.
Yeah, so he come up and squared up to me. I squared back up. Oh, you want it? At this point, I'm boxing. I'm built. I'm down the gym like 7 nights a week. I go boxing and go to the gym, do weights. And he's nah. So I've gone to turn away. He's picked up the phone and smashed it around my head. So then I've turned around and just boom, boom, boom. We're both throwing hooks at each other.
Wow.
He dropped straight away. He dropped it to me. He grabbed my balls. I was like, I was boom, boom, I ended up trying to stab him. But luckily, he was picked up a knife because he had old balls. And
you stabbed him?
With a butter knife, so it bent in half. I was stabbing away, not realising it bent in half. I was just grabbing anything because he literally was holding on for dear life and balls because my old man, when he used to bat me, I remember one fight we had earlier, I'd squared up to him all sank, got mouthy, but I didn't have it in me to hit him first. No. It was like fronting him.
Yeah.
In that moment of hesitation, he didn't fucking hesitate to headbutt me, take my feet out because he can fight like fuck. You know, took my feet out from under me, ran me through a fucking, picked me up, ran my head through the wall. So like, I think next time round,
you were
no hesitation.
Yeah,
and it's, once it's on, you know. And
it makes me feel so sad. How old were you when that happened, when he rammed your head through the wall?
I was still at school, so I think
it's awful.
The first time I got the better of him, and it was night and day. It wasn't like it was annihilating.
Yeah.
Like, because I think for a while I've just not been hitting back. Once I learned the box, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was it. And you know, I was in the gym doing weights as well, getting strong, drinking more eggs like he used to force me to.
Yeah.
And my lovely mum cooking me all the steaks every night. I'm into bodybuilding now, mum, you know, so she's feeding me like a trooper. Brilliant mum, very loving mum. And so yeah, we got pretty strong, pretty powerful, pretty quick. And so yeah, I think I was probably about 15 the first time I got the better of him. Yeah.
Before that,
I remember him going out for a run, because a lot of it is positive. Like, you know, the leadership traits you'd pick up. A lot of them leaderships are good and sometimes not so good. You know, like we go out running. He used to get me out running at like 6 in the morning when I was a little kid. So I remember he'd gone out for a run and he must have been 7-8 minutes ahead of me on like a 4-mile run or something. So as he, to my right, bang, I've gone out to run, made it my mission to literally sprint past him if he was a mile down the road and get home 10 minutes before him. He'd put that kind of, I have to be this, I have to be better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember like we had an argument once. We was up in Winchester and we'd had a row, because he did a lot of good things, like try to get some canoeing and that. Like I said, he's from the gutter and he tried to move up socially. As he started making money on the property, started gravitating towards good people, which is all good. And he got into canoeing, which is more of a middle class sport.
Yeah.
I naturally fell back into where our demographic should have been, I suppose.
Yeah.
And boxing and stuff. But he was trying good things as well. So it's not all bad. And I don't think he was in control of his temper. But anyway, like we had a row and it was like 7 miles. I made a point of running back from Winchester. Just, you know, everything was macho and everything was just that, but that's what he installed, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's not always, I wouldn't have it any other way either. So as much as you've got the trauma, you've got the strength as well. So I wouldn't take it back. You know, it's like I don't regret jail. I've done 4.5 years of a 9-year sentence in jail. But had I not gone to jail, I wouldn't have got educated. I wouldn't have read all those classics and I had no education. You know, I got kicked out of every school I went to jail, ended up coming out from university. I've done like 30 courses, year of Open University, and then they will give me day release to Westminster University. I was so proud of myself.
So you bloody well should be.
Thank you. And I thought, you know, and it was actually a weird time in my life, because when I was in jail, I was looking back on all the violence and with all the books I was reading. Even though you're in the middle of carnage, I was feeling like that's all really fucking abhorrent. It's disgusting, and like, why was I like that? Because, you know, first time I'm reading Jane Austen books, and all this is nice, and
I know,
and like, you know,
the classics.
And I'm probably quite a romantic side to me, so I was, you know, reading about the fields, and I'd never been exposed to anything like that. All I'd been exposed to was violence. So being exposed to all those books opened my eyes to what life should be like, what normal families are like, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, even in hard times, like Dickens books and Jane Austen books can be pretty austere.
Yes.
I mean, Jane Austen's idea of love isn't my idea of love.
No.
Like you. I'm more of a Brontë fan myself. Do you know what I mean? That's my idea of love.
No one expected that to be.
Preferably not Heathcliff, you know. Although, you know, some girls might say the otherwise. I think I've had two, so you are fucking Heathcliff, you know. But
I don't think anyone expected you to come out that quote at all. I'm more of a Brontë fan.
Well, let's have it right. I love Jane Austen books, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so informative. I didn't learn fuck all at university.
No.
Right? I was doing business. I was already running 5 businesses.
You already
before,
knew that.
Yeah. And I had professors telling all the students, you're so lucky to have someone like Danny here. He's got a wealth of knowledge. But like, without being disrespectful, most teachers in business are failed business people. That's why you're teaching business.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
And all these kids are talking about employability skills.
Yeah.
And I was really upset and disappointed, because I think I'd hoped there'd be loads of people wanting to be their own boss.
Yes.
But all they could see was wanting to be a little cog in someone else's
They wanted
system.
to work in the corporates.
And I think that's just one of employability skills, work for someone. I'm thinking the beauty of business is you can be your own boss.
Yeah.
You can have freedom. That's freedom.
Yeah.
You know, if you're an employee to a degree, you know, it's not quite the same.
It's not for minds like ours.
No.
We can't do being employed.
There's nothing wrong with it at all.
No, we're just not made that way. No. We are not made that way.
And I knew that in prison. I knew I could never go and work for someone.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. When I was reading in jail, I would think, I want to be more like that.
Yeah.
Like Edmund Dante's in, what do you call it? The Count of McCrystal, or, you know, and I respected Heathcliff because I saw what he was doing, right? I saw what he was doing as real love. He adored one. Yeah, so.
Aww, it got you there.
It did. But he was so proud, he let it fucking kill him, destroy him and consume him.
Yeah.
He, you know, but the patience and the strength to stay composed, don't really, you know, it's a fictional character, but to keep it together, to rise, to become wealthy, to come back, to get his revenge. And you think, why couldn't there have been a happy ending? And actually might have been if Kathy met him up in the marsh and she hadn't died. Who knows how that book would have ended. But she died.
Why does that get to you?
It's kind of the same story.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why I say fiction is never fiction. It's based on real life. It's just that they've made up the characters.
Well, I don't know about nowadays, but I think in the 1800s and the 1700s, we were blessed with a few authors who changed
the game.
Changed the game, yeah.
Really did,
Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Jane Austen, the Brontë sisters, Dickens.
What pulled you to that era?
Wow. Probably her.
Yeah. It's influenced your thinking.
Weird, isn't it? When I got to jail, at some point I went down the library, I got a boxing book, which is good, had its purpose, it motivated me, like training and whatnot. And then I would look at the classics. They had like a small section of classics, which is probably wasted in jail.
Yeah.
No one's reading that. So they all want to read true crime. What are you going to read true crime for?
We're all here.
Do you know what I mean? Fucking true crime bores the shit out of me. I've lived it.
Yeah.
So looking at these classics, I was intimidated by these books, like really intimidated. Kept on looking at them, but drawn to them. So I think the first one I read was Wuthering Heights.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you went in at the deep end.
Yeah. All right. And I didn't understand any of those words at all. Like, so no, the page wouldn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I got on the phone to Becky and said, right, can you send in a dictionary and a thesaurus and some stationery and books? And I started writing down all the words that I didn't know. I'd get like a marker pen, and whatever word I didn't know, because loads of words are different in the 1700s. Yeah, so 1800s.
Yeah.
So I started underlining them. And then I'd write that word down with the meaning, like in my little book. And, you know, there'd be 17, 20 words that I didn't know on a page. So that page is not going to make sense. But once I was about 20, 30 pages through, I found that the author, in that case, Emily Brontë, was using the same words. So I'd now, 30 pages in, was used to her vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I was so austere with myself because you do things I did things in jail to keep me motivated, switched on, not like everyone else. I didn't like jail.
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch daytime TV and turn into a zombie.
Yeah.
Or smoke spice all day like everyone else.
Yeah.
So I become obsessed with reading these books, and 30 pages in, I thought, I know all the words. You know, and if I didn't know a word, or if I forgot a word that I'd written down previously, or I had half an idea of what the word meant, I'd kind of not punish myself, but I'd do it again, and again, and again, till it sunk in. So I've got big books now at home, still filled with words with their meanings.
Wow.
And it improved my vocabulary.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I've forgotten. I've probably forgotten more than I learned.
Well, no, I think it's always there. It's just whether you tap in.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that depends on your social circle.
It does.
Because
It
it's probably
really
not
does.
as much of a use for it as I would like. And I don't read as much now as I did when I was in jail.
I was going to ask that actually. Are you still reading? Because that's probably something.
I need to go back to it. I think I scroll too much.
Yeah, get those books
I
back
do
out.
read. Yeah, I do read, and it's powerful, and it's very for people with mental health. Listen, for people with mental health problems, which is almost everyone now.
Yeah.
For various reasons, I think social media is a massive part of that.
Yeah.
If they could get what I got out of reading when I was in jail, they would solve a lot of that depression. There's so many things that are powerful that people wouldn't think, but reading, to get lost in a novel.
Oh, it's lovely.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
And so I might have been in jail, in a dingy little cell, but getting lost in, the way Brontë describes the scenery, and you're there.
Yeah.
It transports you there, and you're immersed in this story.
Yeah.
And I never got depressed in jail. 4.5 years in jail, I never got depressed. I went in a bit depressed because I was going through divorce and the affair, and my life was crazy. And, bang, it switched off straight away in jail because you got to switch on.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I got obsessed with reading, and it made the time fly. And
considering how you got into jail, which we won't go massively into, just for people that want to know more of that story, you've done Terry Stone's podcast and you've told, I would imagine, the more gritty details of the crimes on there. So I would encourage listeners to go to Terry's to find out the backstory. But basically there was a kidnapping. Your gym had been set on fire. Someone paid a very heavy price, although you, as it turned out, was not the murderer.
Oh no! Yeah, I wasn't even doing murder.
But that there was an involvement in
the guy that did it or organised it. He wound up getting shot dead later. I mean, at court they alleged it was my ex-partner in crime, in that particular business that goes on. But no, he was. I think in that case, I think someone owed him 130 grand or something like that. And he was intimidating them, saying, get a family killed, stuff like that. And from what I know of the story, and, if you put someone in the corner, because the guy wasn't a violent guy, really. He was getting bumped left, right and centre.
He's not someone that's notorious for that.
No, not at all. He was getting bumped by people putting out money in the street, as we say. And, he was no tough guy.
Yeah.
He looked the part, big, stirred up guy, covered tattoos, gold chains, like no.
They've just been put in a corner, put in a hard place.
But you put someone, but he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he obviously loved his family, and someone threatened his family, and he must have believed that was real. And that was one motive. The other motive is, I believe there was a robbery planned around it as well. So put the two together.
Mm. Yeah. So that's the bit of the backstory. But like I said, if you want to find out more about that, go to Terry's, which, I'm sure it's a very interesting story. But actually what's more interesting is that you end up in prison, you discover your love for reading of these amazing novels.
Yeah.
You understand romance and the world through a different lens. You've been influenced by this woman that you've fallen deeply in love with, who's led you into a slightly different way of thinking and experiencing, and that becomes, I think, a massive change in you. That interest in that world, the 1800s, the language, the vocabulary, the scenery, the romance.
Maybe I was so fed up with my violent world.
Yeah.
That I could be at a restaurant and I would have the people that work for me go get someone and bring them to me while I was eating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like proper mafia stuff.
Well, I wouldn't know that.
Well, that's what we see in the movies,
I
isn't
remember
it?
I got back to my wife, we were going through a separation, and I think it was a restraining order at the time. And so we met in secret, and met in a restaurant. But I had two heavies, just sat in the corner on a retainer, and I mean, at some point says, this is really weird, there's two fucking guys just paid there, to, do what they do.
Yeah.
And I said, I know it, isn't it?
But that's the way it
was. But it was getting weirder and weirder, I remember, so that day, I pulled up in the M6 convertible, she's pulled up, drove around, because obviously it was on a, what do you call it? not supposed to be seeing each other.
Yeah, there was, like you say,
and then another guy pulled up next to me, dropped in an envelope about that thick with cash. That was the spending money for the day.
Yeah.
You know, I remember us counting money like £1,000 bundles and like just holding on to them like that and just, you know, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, covering the floor in money, you know.
Yeah.
And just go through so many elastic bands. You know, you'd buy a couple hundred to go. You know,
you wouldn't get on very well in these days, though. You can't use cash anywhere.
No.
What are you doing? Like, if you are a criminal now, how are they?
You can't.
It's so much bloody harder, isn't it? You can't use cash anywhere.
I'm turning up to buy a car like with like nearly 20 grand and a holdall.
And you just give it to him and get your car.
At that point, it was still getting iffy.
Yeah.
You know.
Iffy.
Yeah.
A little bit iffy, but we could still do it.
I wish I had that problem now, but
yeah,
no. I say, I definitely haven't. But yeah.
Well, because you've changed so much. I mean, obviously there was.
I don't think, you know. I don't think. I'm so glad to be out of that life.
Yeah.
Right. The money gets squandered anyway because you're you know, from the lower working classes, and when you get money, that's what we do. We spend it, right?
Yeah.
Every serious gangster, villain, whatever you want to call them, but I met in jail, serious people, not the fucking donuts, right? Which is 99%, but the serious people, and those serious people, the top 1% or less, they're reading books too.
Yeah.
They're doing,
studying.
They're studying, and they're avoiding gangbangers and stuff like that.
It's interesting.
They don't want to they show out polite, but they tend to stick with
focus.
They'll network, but they'll network with people that want to get on in the world.
Yeah.
And
more entrepreneurial.
They're just entrepreneurs. What I learned is the top people were just good networkers.
Yeah.
And I think
falling into the wrong business.
That skill set is transferable in any business.
Yeah, you're right.
And the glass ceiling out of crime is higher.
Yeah.
Much higher.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, obviously I'm speaking to people now and trying to put out a good message on things like mental health and addiction.
Because on that note,
but I don't want kids going down that road at all. And
no, because
it's a different world to the one I was in.
It is very different world. Yeah. It's and the thing is that violence is not just
violence is not accepted.
No, it's not.
Prison sentences are. Yeah. You get done for violence, they will throw away. Kids don't know.
Yeah.
Right? They don't realise till they get the sentence.
Yeah.
You know, and violence is tragic.
It is tragic.
And we're not, you know. Not really about the kids stabbing each other to pieces in London.
It's horrendous.
It's horrendous.
And it's not just in London, it's everywhere
It's
now.
not just horrendous for the kid who's been stabbed and killed in their family.
No.
It's horrendous for the kid who didn't know any better.
Yes, you're right.
Who, through validation, has gone with a click.
Yeah.
And sometimes older kids, you know.
I know.
And that's evil. I fucking can't stand.
I absolutely am so sad because I've told this story loads of times. I'm not going to tell it again, but when you see, you know, the boys that are 13, 14 that have taken those zombie knives and they've stabbed another kid.
Crazy. And
then they're being caught by the police and they're petrified because they cannot think, they haven't got the brain capacity to think these steps through.
Exactly. Like, I've been in jail with these kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all get educated. We educate ourselves, or I'm being educated speaking to you. You know, and you were learning all the time by the people we have around us, right?
Well, that goes both ways.
Yeah, you know, I'll give an example, right? Obviously, I'm a criminal, making money. But when I went to jail, I would have had a preconceived idea of like crackheads and people robbing people's houses. I think that's disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't like those people.
Yeah.
Right? That's weak. Right? And then you go to jail with all these people and you find they're fucking nice people. They're lovely.
Yeah.
Some of them are so nice. And they tell you what they've been through as a kid.
Yeah.
And I feel bad now, but I was ever so judgmental.
Yeah.
And they've been through like, you know, some boys not met and they've been through sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Battered, both the parents are junkies, or like, you know, what other way were they going to go? Or they've just bumped into a 14-year-old, or they've been 14 or something, 13. They bumped into a 17-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid who served them up, try that, got them on some crack.
Yeah. And they're a bit lonely and they try it and then they feel like they've got a friend.
Yeah, it's like people can fall into a next thing they've got an addiction.
Yeah.
And they will do anything to get that money.
Yeah, you're right.
Anything.
It's actually heartbreaking. The thing to say here is, for anyone that's like, well, yeah, if you commit a crime, you should be punished. Of course.
Of course.
But what...
And rehabilitated.
And rehabilitated. Exactly. And I talk about that a lot, the rehabilitation piece, because also, as well as the Mickey Mouse courses, unfortunately...
They're not all Mickey Mouse.
No, I know some of them are good.
But they're not as meaningful as they could be.
No.
And they run a few kind of like trade things in here, but they are quite Mickey Mouse, and they're not as they should be. And the investment isn't there.
It should be.
And
because
some
that would
jails,
help.
yeah, some jails are taking away the education departments completely, and
it's not
like Coldenly, and they've got people working making boxes for like 20p an hour, whatever it is. And you know, like I say, if you, where is the compassion? If you've got someone, you know, if you've got one of these guys who's out there on crack, that is a tortured life.
Yes.
They are just scrambling to fix their addiction in abject poverty, and probably feeling ashamed, and the kind of pain that they live through day to day.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't want to be like that.
No.
They would love someone to grab them and fix them, or put them into, you know, like you get places like the Priory.
Yes.
What do you call that? A rehabilitation centre. Well, someone from the gutter is never going to go into one of those places because that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Why not? We're a very rich country.
Yeah.
We are, I don't know if we're still the financial capital of the world. I think there or thereabouts.
Put it this way.
We're more, I think we've got more influence than New York when it comes to the financial markets. And that says it all.
But we've got plenty of money, we waste a lot of money because it's given to the wrong places. And, you know, it basically, if you were to put in the money into the young people, and let's look at the young offenders, the older ones,
absolutely.
Start with the young offenders. If you were to rehabilitate them, give them proper educations, good trades, get them the proper therapy, not just talking therapy, but trauma-focused therapies.
Absolutely.
That absolutely work because they've obviously gone through trauma, the majority of them. Then when they come out, they've got a trade, they've done their trauma work, their head's feeling better, their body's feeling better. They're probably better focusing because they've dealt with a lot of the trauma, and trauma creates the ADHD framework, which is where they are.
They're going to feel validated.
They're going to feel validated.
They're going to feel validated by the trade they've just learned.
Exactly.
Like, I'm an electrician now. I'm a carpenter.
And neurobiologically, psychologically, physiologically, having that purpose, having that trade, being validated, but also undoing the trauma, the negative effects of trauma. Now you're going in, you're not going to have the same addictions. No. You're not going to be drawn into the same crowd because you can see that life could be better. All of that would solve a lot of problems and, in the long run, save a lot of money.
They're going to be paying taxes instead of robbing.
That's what I mean. It would
meaningful members of society.
It would improve society, and it would, long term, think about the long game. If those young gentlemen and females
I've never heard anyone talk like this before.
Well,
actually.
It's really important. If they were then coming out and getting good jobs.
It's absolutely true.
It's absolutely true. Getting good jobs, and then they're meeting a lovely woman and they're having children. They want better for their children because they understand themselves. So now we're bringing back family into society.
You're creating a healthy ecosystem.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen because the powers that
doesn't create any profit.
Correct. Well, for the people at the top.
And they don't give a rat's ass about the people.
No, they don't, because they're usually Eton schoolboys who haven't got a clue.
Absolutely.
And that's just the way it is. And it's been like that for so long.
What did I hear once? Someone said to me, and it's come from a kid who went to Eton, I met in jail, fraudster, funny enough. And so there's a mindset difference. If you're in a state school, we're taught we are lucky to be getting this deal.
Yeah.
Whereas they're taught we deserve this fucking deal.
You're absolutely right.
That's a completely different mindset.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it's got to change. But this is where you come in. Because someone like you that's been there, done that, worn that T-shirt, read the books, got the education, been to university, you know, all of these things, struggle with addiction so you can understand so many different facets of this problem. You've had the abuse in childhood, you've become aggressive as an adult, you've then gone to prison, you've educated yourself, you've had a bit of an addiction, well, a lot of an addiction. You've turned so much around. You are now tapping into a whole different part.
It wasn't actually that bad. The thing is, I think, for whatever reason, it affected me worse than more people because I think whatever was going on in my head from the past would just come up.
Yeah.
So it just didn't suit me.
Yeah.
I don't think it suits anyone. But I think the more you've been through in life, and for me, there were certain things just kept coming up in my head.
Because of the addictions, you mean?
Yeah. There's no capacity for me to take any any drugs. That's why I'm back to being a teetotal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the prison, I will say this as well. There are good people. There are very good people in probation. There are very good people in the prison service. There are also a lot of cunts.
Of course.
But there are some really good people.
Well, if you look at any system, and I say this all the time, you've got good teachers, bad teachers, good therapists, bad therapists, good doctors, bad doctors. Systemically, the government is the bigger issue.
There are more good people, for instance, in probation, but who want to help.
But they can't.
But their hands are tied.
Because of the system.
Because of the system, absolutely. Their hands are tied, so they would like to help more, but they have very little resources.
Yes, you're right.
To help. I've been lucky. I've been blessed with some good probation officers who have been very good to me.
I think that's a really honourable career, actually, probation.
Absolutely.
But like you say, systemically,
that's the sad thing about it. They join wanting to do good.
Yeah, they do.
But then their hands are tied quite quickly.
Same as social services. You know, social workers go in with the right intentions.
Absolutely.
But there's so many that, like
the whole system there is
fucked.
Yeah.
It is. It's fucked.
It's terrible. And they go from one extreme to the other after baby P.
Yes.
Terrible thing. So, yes, they missed that and thousands of others.
Yeah.
They went from that to not take any action to taking
being hyper
vigilant and taking far too many children off parents.
Right. Yeah, which is
because that should be a last resort. Which
is traumatic for the kids. And then they're still missing the ones that are genuinely being failed. So anyway, that's not the social workers themselves, that's the system.
Absolutely.
Education system, prison system.
You'd only become a social worker if you wanted to help.
Of course.
And I think it's the same with things like probation.
And teachers, most of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people become prison officers. Not all.
Yeah.
You get those who really want to do something good and want to help people. They realise people are suffering.
Yes.
And then
you get the power freaks.
And then you get the power freaks. And I'm not sure what the split is, actually. But
well, I suppose,
you meet both.
Yeah, of course you're going to. And I think it depends on you as a character, how you absorb that information.
Absolutely.
Because you had been aggressive, and I think maybe by the time you got to prison, like you say, you were bored of the violence. So by the time you're witnessing this life in prison,
I'm very aware of it. What's going on? Yeah,
which is why
I wasn't just reading classics. I was reading a lot of psychology.
Yeah,
a lot of sociology, a lot of history. Which for me, I think history, especially if you mix it with a bit of psychology,
and sociology,
is very powerful because. Every lesson you ever need in life has been done before.
Funnily enough, they were my A-level, psychology, sociology and history. Because they all link in so beautifully.
Are you a Robert Greene fan?
I say I love Robert Greene, but I find him fascinating,
He's so clever.
Yeah.
I don't know how, because to read his life story,
yeah,
you know, he'd done something like 70 jobs,
yeah.
Didn't know what he was doing in life,
yeah.
And then suddenly knock out the 48 Laws of Power, which is banned in prison.
Is it banned in prison?
So seduction, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because actually I remember giving...
I could see why, but I mean, I don't think it's right to ban books.
I gave 48... it's funny, this story. I gave 48 Laws of Power to a friend of mine who will remain nameless, but basically he was a head rugby coach in this country at the time, and he was being coached by me. And I gave it to him and he came back and he went, Ella, that is brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah.
I had so many things I could apply from that book, or Machiavelli's The Prince, which I thought was even better. I practically wrote that book out again, word for word. There was so many things I learnt from that. I thought
it's an interesting. He's a very interesting man, Robert Greene.
Very I think he's been advisor to the last 3 presidents of the United States. So
very
he's
interesting.
The world's authority on power, isn't he?
Yeah, very interesting.
As much as I found it dark, and I didn't love it.
No, I know. That's why I said I've got to be careful. I
had mixed emotions with it.
Yeah,
I thought,
me too.
I'm very honest.
Yeah.
I'm very honest. I don't like dishonesty. And I thought it kind of leads a little bit towards manipulation sometimes.
Well, I sort of, and this is sometimes, but if you read it through the wrong lens,
yes,
it's basically training a narcissist.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So you've got to be quite...
Well, if you read a book like Seduction, you can never unlearn that.
I know.
You're going to have that skill set with you, not because it's in your subconscious. So when you're having a conversation, you're using it. You know what to do. But you couldn't even unthink it. And like I said, by nature, I don't like manipulation.
There's 2 different types. There's persuasion for good intention and manipulation for bad intention.
I will say if I'm trying to persuade someone to do something, I will persuade them with the truth.
Yes.
I'm very aware that it has to be a good deal all round.
Yeah.
It's going to have both interests at heart.
Yeah.
And I believe in one of my top priorities in life, top values, is to make sure people have an equal exchange of value in everything.
Yeah.
That's in a love relationship. That's in my gym partner.
Yeah.
If I'm going to gym with someone and I'd like, for instance, someone who's younger than me, and so he should be bringing a lot of energy and motivation. And I'm bringing knowledge, and it meets in the middle as an exchange of value. Plus, I get the accountability. I'm not very good at getting to the gym at 7 in the morning, but if I've got a training partner there, I'll make sure I'm there for the.
Because that's what you're doing as well at the minute, isn't it? You're coaching boxing.
Yes. Yeah. This is obviously I get to the gym and do some weights every morning. For me, that's an important part of my structure, routine. Yeah. So I've got accountability. But if he's turning up and he's got no motivation, his hands in his pocket, then the energy's dropped. So I know I'm getting a bad exchange of value.
Yes.
So he's not going to last as a training partner.
Yeah.
And it'd be the same thing in a partner, in a relationship with your partner. If you're very loving and tactile and giving, and they're moody and they're grumpy and they're trying to pour water on your fire all the time, after a while,
it creates a lot of toxic energy.
Yeah, you're probably going to split because if you switched on, okay, this is a very bad exchange of value.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of this. So one thing I try to teach my son is you have to give everyone a fair exchange value or you'll lose people. You know, you've got all these sponsors for boxing. You need to give back to them. You need to let them know you're grateful. You need to put them on your socials and things.
Yeah.
And
very important lesson.
He was young and his mum wasn't passing that on us because you want to keep growing your sponsors.
Yeah.
So you have to be grateful. And they're doing something for you. You have to do back for them. And he is a very polite boy. He's a good boy like that.
I mean, it's great that you've, as you've said a few times, you're grateful for your experiences, the good, the bad and the ugly, the bits that you've done wrong and the bits that you've done right, because now you really are that sort of wisdom for your son. I mean, I'm not saying that's all come from the right places, but wisdom never does. Wisdom is, if you observe nature, the storms and the calm after the storm, and you watch the birds and you watch the trees and you see it all and you see how dark nature can be and you see how beautiful it can be. That is the human experience. So
do you know lions, the pride? Was it the pride?
Yes.
Do you know how he tends to die? The youngsters take him out. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. Yeah.
And they realise when he's slipping.
Yeah.
And they circle him.
Yeah.
And
gone.
Back of a leg, and then torture him. And
it's so dark.
Nature is dark.
It's so dark.
And I think whilst I've been a very loving, tactile, very, very loving, generous dad, I've also tried to prepare him for the dark world that's out there as well.
Because you
can't not.
You can't not. And I think for you as well, going back to, just because as we wrap this up, I really want to lean into this beautiful section of your life where you want to support others and you want to be that wisdom. And you can't be wisdom without what we've just spoken about, without the light in the dark.
I'm teetotal now, but had I not been for a stage of, using drugs and to the point where it was having a negative impact on my life.
Yeah.
So, had I not been a very negative impact on my life, I shouldn't play it down.
No.
And, if you say I'm going to stop saying it and you don't stop it, then we can't, and that keeps going, that is addiction.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't been through that, learn about triggers and things like that, then you can't relate to kids. You can help kids. You don't know what you're talking about.
You have to have the lived
and you've
experience.
never been involved in serious crime. How can you talk to kids about not doing it?
Can you imagine me going into a prison? Which actually, I know some people do go and work with prisoners and they are not ex-criminals. Oh. And I think
they're not going to listen to them.
They're not going to listen to them. You're not going to listen to me. I mean, I've got a lot of knowledge and I'll hold my hands up and say I'm quite proud of that knowledge. But although I've had my own history of trauma and I've had an addiction, to various different things, not drugs, but I've gone through some dark times and I've done the self-harm and I've done the anger and I've done the rage. Girls that have been sexually abused in their home are going to relate to me.
Yes.
But if I go to a prison, they're not going to relate to me. They're going to think, well, you don't know what it's like. They might think, oh, sorry to hear about your story, but you've got no idea what it's like to be us.
Absolutely.
So they need someone with your lived experience. That's where your value and your suffering and your wrongness.
I'm genuinely grateful that I went through that because I feel like I'm in a position to help people now.
Yeah.
And I feel good about it. And to be honest, it also keeps me on point from ever slipping because I don't ever want to go down that road again.
No.
And I want to be the best version of myself and encourage other people to do the same. I think by encouraging other people to be the best version of themselves,
yes,
and not do drugs and not get into crime, helps keep me on track. If kids find something they're good at,
yes,
they have validation.
Yes.
So if your son or your daughter is good at something, support it to the max.
Yeah.
Right? Really, really support it, because if they don't like it, don't get them into your hobbies or your things, because that's your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have done drama and want them to be an actor or something.
Yeah.
But if that's not their thing, so you've got to be generally interested in your child to find out what they want. And they might not know. So probe. You have to probe. You've got to help them. Encourage to explore different things.
Yeah.
Get them involved in different hobbies from a young age.
Yeah.
You know, let them find out what their talents are. Because when it clicks, and oh, I'm good at this, then help them lean into it. And hopefully, so the good thing about sport is, especially something like boxing or MMA, is the punishment for not adhering to clean lifestyle is quite hard. You get punished more.
Yeah.
Right. So you have that encouragement not to drink. If I drink, I'm going to struggle to do my 4-mile run or 5-mile run.
It's
whatever.
instant punishment.
Instant punishment. So most kids that do boxing don't fall into the drink, drugs, things later. Some do, but I know lots of kids who are really good boxers dropped out of boxing quite young, but they kept up a good lifestyle ever more, because at that crucial, vulnerable age, they didn't fall into bad crowds, bad habits.
And again, they've got their community in their gym or in their club. They've got something outside of the kids. And look, the kids that are hanging around on the streets, it's about parenting, it's about society, it's about systems.
It is difficult.
It's so
because
difficult.
If your son falls into a group of lads who are dealing drugs, trying to get him to deal drugs, and you're not from that world, how do you stop them? I'll be honest, if someone tried to get my daughter or son doing something, there'd be no problem for me to stop that. But normal parents might not be able to deal with that. What can they do?
You're right.
Who do they phone?
Yeah.
The police aren't going to do much.
And that's why...
The police are going to say that's your problem.
Well, the police don't even turn up to road traffic accidents anymore, where someone's driving without insurance and causes a massive accident.
I do feel for mums who find, especially a lot of single mums who find their kids are going down the wrong roads. They don't know how to pull them out of it. And it's not like I tell the other kids, fuck off. You better fuck off.
And you know what? The other thing is about the sports thing is that obviously a lot of clubs cost a lot of money. If you're a mother that's going to a food bank or even a family that's going to a food bank already, to be able to get your kids into clubs, which is where you were saying about the schools.
They might not drive.
How the hell are you supposed to...
And this is where there should be a lot more support. Because like I say, we're talking about the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like, if you help these parents provide all those things for their kids,
and that's where I think we've got to, and that's why I asked about the boxing gym actually.
It's not just, there are other unhealthy behaviours. They might not be getting involved in crime. They might just be sitting on their Xbox for 10 hours a day. And that is just harmful, because they're not going to pick up the social skills that me and you did when we were hanging around the park drinking cider back in the 90s. Right?
Yeah.
So, but the truth is, we probably picked up important skills.
Yeah, we
mixing with the kids, socialising. And then there were nightclubs. Yeah. And again, you picked up skills, you bumped who you knew. And nowadays, those kids, they can't be fucked to go out down the park. They can't be bothered to ride their BMX.
No.
Because they're on their Xboxes for 10 hours a day.
That's crazy.
And I would say to parents, I'm not being judgmental. Right? Sometimes it can be easy to leave your kid on the computer or the phone. I get it. You're working 2 jobs.
Yes.
You're underpaid. Life is hard. Kids are screaming. And it's easy to put them on the Xbox.
But we're ruining them.
And we're ruining them. They're not picking up. They need to be encouraged to get out and make friends. And when you go to clubs like boxing or football, again, you are socialising. You're picking up other skills than just the sport.
And also, I think people feel, and I've been in boxing gyms, and they feel quite intimidated by the idea of going in. But once you're there, it's like
just
a family. Breaking the seal.
Absolutely, it's like a family, really friendly. And I say, football. I don't like football, but I respect it. It's a great skill. Yeah. And you're learning teamwork. Yeah. Vital skills. So if you're playing after school football, again, you're making friends, you're learning about teamwork with sport. Now you'd think that boxing does teach you more of an individual mindset, which works for me because I'm an individual, but that's probably why I found that sport. Yeah. But at the same time, you're not alone. There is a team. You've got your sparring partners. When you go running, you go with your pals. You go to the gym, you go with your pals. You got your coach. There's respect. Yeah. So you're still getting. There's still teamwork. There's still socialising. There's so much that we get from sports that again they've dropped right out of school, haven't they?
Before we wrap up, we must talk about the documentary.
Yeah.
So your life story being what it is, and again, you know, we've not gone into the greatest of detail about some parts of it, but it's attracted interest from lots of different people, including someone that would like to maybe make a film about your life or a documentary about your life. So tell me as much as you can tell me about that.
So obviously, I've done Terry Stone podcast. Now, he spent a couple of hours on a couple of occasions speaking to me before the podcast on the phone. He said, Dan, there's a film here. And I met him, and he brought up and said, I want to make this movie. And so I was getting the book for it. And I said, at the time, I was probably, for whatever reason, I was excited by the opportunity, but not enough to be greatly moved to get the book written.
Yeah.
And I thought I was. And like I said, there were distractions. I was partying too much with the girls and stuff like that. And that was a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And, you know, the partying side of it, I would say, kind of put me in a bad place, really. And emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So these opportunities were here, and I wasn't really capitalising on. In fact, I was going down a very, very slippery road, trying to find myself, I guess. So I'd come out the marriage, parted with a girl I loved, so I was entertaining lots of women, trying to fill the void with that, which isn't healthy behaviour. Luckily, I come out of that, and I'm actually glad I went into that phase, because I say, although it wasn't nice, it's given me that perspective where I feel I can help people now, so that they don't do it. Mm. But also, obviously, always kept in touch with Terry, and still very keen. He was on the phone last week with his recommendations that the book needs to get written. But also, since then, Nick Tuseg, who is a BAFTA nominee producer, he's done written a lot of books, and he's made a lot of documentaries and stuff for Netflix. There's a lot of work at Netflix. He actually drove from his home, I think, wherever it is, London or something, all the way down to Southampton. We had a meeting in my house, and what had happened is there was a guy I made friends with in jail who was ex-Special Forces, 12 years in the Special Forces, 7 years in the private sector, and then he got a 20-year jail sentence for chopping someone's thumbs off with an axe. Sounds a bit mad. So but he's also a very intelligent guy. He's a writer. He feels ashamed about what happened with him. Probably because he's also such an intelligent guy who fell into the trap of addiction. He'd been put forward to be in a documentary, and only wanted 2 people in it, I think. And my mate has turned his life around completely. He's sorted himself right out. He's doing a degree in jail, and he's doing really well. So he said, I don't want to do it. I'm too private a person, but I've got someone who'd be brilliant for this. And he said, my mate's got a really good life story. So he put them my way. So that's how that came about.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, for ages, the guy was trying to get me to send him, you know, the different parts of my life.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I think right in the first few parts of it set me off a little bit. I was surprised all these like old emotions came up from my childhood and things like that. And I just, for whatever reason, I like writing. But there was like a block there. It was stopping me. Yeah. And anyway, I got the grips of it, and I phoned him up a few days ago actually and said, look, I'm really sorry I haven't, because and a few weeks before that, he was at the funding stage. I need these books because I'm trying to get funding for this documentary. So I said, look, I'm really sorry at that stage I didn't push it all through to you, but I'm going to get it done now. And, you know, it was absolutely brilliant. He's like, listen, don't worry about it at all. And in this sort of thing, you writing all that would drag up a lot of old emotions and stuff. So don't worry about it at all. Let's get it cracking. So that was good. And so, yeah, Terry's still there. So I need to get the book done now. So either way, hopefully we get funding in this documentary, which will be exciting. Yeah. And I think it's basically around the trauma that people who've lived violent lives and violent upbringings have and how they live it. I think the other guy that was going to be in the documentary was being filmed, and he actually sadly took his own life. And I think a lot of people who had violent upbringings or trauma, it could be, as you say, like self, girls, I know lots of girls that have had that sort of thing, and they struggle with it forever. Yeah. And a lot of them fall into addiction. Yes. And it's coping mechanisms. Yeah. I think. Yeah. So obviously he had the one side of it where this guy wasn't managing his life for a while. And then he had me, who's come out the other side of it, is managing his life well. Luckily fell into education and self-improvement and stuff like that. So the two sides of the coin, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, and Nick's a great guy. He only gets involved with projects where he thinks he can provide some good to society, can inform people, can help people. So I'm excited about it. So I hope we get funding for that. And
that'd be amazing. And, you know, whatever happens with that, I think the intention is clear. And I think this is a really good place to wrap up, because ultimately we start with this really sad little boy, because although you might not have felt sadness then, you're certainly experiencing that as you revisit, you know, writing the parts of your life. But we end with someone that wants to help the sad little boys and wants to influence people in the right way. And it's just gone full circle.
It's weird. It's like crazy. Like the amount of people in the inbox, like, you inspire us and asking for advice. And like that gives you, it was a bit weird. And to be honest, I've had ex-forces guys talking about suicide, and you think, fuck, I don't need this responsibility.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's fucking, I was having a nice Friday night with a nice girl at the house, and I thought, I've got to call this guy, because he's clearly talking about suicide.
Yeah.
You know, and you can tell a few people are going that road. So I spent about an hour talking to him on the phone, and he's a great guy, and he seems a lot better now. Like I said, sometimes it's just purpose. Like, you know, you need a purpose. Like,
and it's a sense of, again, what purpose is one thing, but actually identity is another. And if your identity is now somebody that wants to support, assist and help others, then everything you've been through, everything you've done wrong has a purpose. And I think that is what we've learned today.
It's great for me, because it keeps me on point. I think if you're putting out a message and people are asking you for advice and help, then you can't be a fake.
No,
you've got to start living that life more and more.
Yes.
And you've got to become more down the growth mindset and looking at ways to be better so you can pass it along. It's, you know, I enjoy that, you know.
And on that note, where can people follow you so they can get more of this top tip information?
I'm on Instagram most of the time.
What is it? So what's your handle on Instagram for people?
I think it's Danny Harkins 1. I think
you didn't even know. I'll link it into the
Danny Harkins
podcast.
1.
Yeah, we'll find you. I can't thank you enough for coming all this way. I know you've got I've just seen it's 7:30, so you've got like a 3-hour drive.
I've learned loads from you, so it's been brilliant.
And you were struggling with the traffic, so you've been stuck in the car for the most of the day, but it's been a real pleasure to listen to you talk and to hear your perspective. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens for you next, because I really think that everything you've gone through is for a reason. And I think we're going to be able to watch that now come to fruition. And like you say, it keeps you accountable.
Keeps me accountable,
So thank you, Danny, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Really enjoyed it.